So here we are in a different part of the Norfolk Sports Hall of Recognition, back with former NHLer and Intercounty baseball, realistically double sport legend in a way, but from the local town and community.
A legend in my own mind.
Yeah, I think we all are. But we're just kind of getting to a little bit of a quieter area, and it's still loud. This is an active facility, a great facility actually. They got an arena, they got a swimming pool, and this nice display. And but I wanted to talk baseball with you, Barry, and we talked hockey, and just want to talk baseball. Intercounty baseball. What can you tell us about Intercounty baseball? Canada is a very big place. Intercounty baseball is strictly only in Ontario, in the province of Ontario. What can you tell us about the league, the time when you played, and like you said, some pro teams came into Ontario throughout those years, which slowed it down, and kind of, where it's come from, and it's hardball, and what do you think the direction and stuff of it is? So, when we talk about the eras you played and the level of it and whatnot.
Well, the Senior A Intercounty Baseball League started in 1919, and it's still going. It's never missed any time. The teams have changed, teams come and go.
Yep.
I think London was probably one of the teams that's been in the Intercounty Baseball League the longest, and they didn't enter the league till 1925.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But before I played senior Intercounty, I played 5 years of junior, which was very uncommon.
Yep.
Most guys played 2 or 3 years of junior. I played 5.
So why don't you share in today's world, like junior baseball? So you played in your community, and then you worked your way up, kind of like hockey, is it? Kind of like a junior hockey team, but it's junior baseball?
I played, I think I started in Pee Wee baseball at 9 or 10. And as you already know, I started hockey as a goaltender.
Yes.
And I started baseball as a catcher.
Okay.
Well,
and would that have been in Delhi? Would it have been Barry?
Well, the first mistake was playing goalie in hockey. Being a catcher, I loved.
Yeah.
I played Pee Wee and Bantam, and I think I even played up in midget and juvenile when I was Pee Wee, when I was a Bantam.
Yeah.
And I think I was a midget for 1 year, but I played on the juvenile team, which was a juvenile midget team.
Okay. Would it have been juvenile midget because not that many players, or just because that's how it was in a smaller community?
A small community didn't have that many players, so the midgets played with the juveniles.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the communities were like that.
Okay.
Yeah, back in that day. Yeah. It's because we played against small communities. Delhi is 3,000 people. We didn't play against too many communities that were bigger than 3,000.
Yeah.
Only in league play, because you played the closest communities. But when you go out into playoffs, you played communities your size.
Yes, correct.
And then I moved to London in 1964 to play junior B hockey.
Yes.
And in the spring of '65, I went out for the junior inter-county team.
Okay.
I was 17, and I played till I was 21. So I played 5 years, and most guys, like I said, only play 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But I played 5, along with another really good ball player was Jim Rodriguez, who actually went on to play professional baseball for a couple of years. And unfortunately, he got injured. He got signed by the Detroit Tigers. Then he got injured.
He was a pitcher, right?
No, he was a shortstop. He was an infielder, great player, good arm. And your father, Dave, will know him. I think your father, Dave, Jim Rodriguez was his favorite player.
Yes, I do remember that. I don't know why I thought he was a pitcher, but yes, he was a shortstop. My father was a shortstop. Yes.
Well, Jim could probably play everybody. I'm not so sure he could be a catcher. But he could probably pitch too, but he didn't. He did in minor ball, but not in junior baseball. And we had excellent teams in junior baseball. London always had good teams.
Yeah.
London won a lot of Ontario championships in junior, right back to the 30s and 40s, 50s and 60s and 70s. The last one they won was 1975, but it wasn't the London Diamonds, the team. It was another team that London had 2 junior A inter-county teams for about 4 years, 5 years. Yeah.
Just from the number of people in the community? Or
there were so many kids in the community that were good ball players. They had 2 teams. Okay. And the London Diamonds went to 1975 was their last year. And I think it was Ron Wood Athletics, sponsored by a guy that was in Home Builder out in Dorchester. He sponsored the team. And the 75 junior team won the All-Ontario the same year that the London senior team won the Intercounty Championship.
Okay.
So 2 championship teams in 1975. And while I was playing junior, I still went up to play in the senior team.
like getting called up. Yeah.
I got called up in 1966 when I was like 18 years old.
Yeah, pretty
and I
remarkable.
played every year up with the senior team and the junior team. And I became a senior in 1970.
Okay. Now, today, is there still a junior intercounty, or has that changed to just local leagues around, you know what I mean? Like,
Last year was the first year in probably 10 or 12 years they actually had a junior team.
okay.
They didn't have a junior team because some of the guys that played in London that went on to play professional baseball and came back to London, they started what you call the elite bantam and midget leagues.
Okay.
And they took all those players that were midgets would have played junior.
Yeah.
They played in this elite league and they tried to get them all scholarships so it was more attractive.
Yeah.
And these kids were playing $8,000 and $10,000, $12,000 a year to play in these elite midget leagues and bantam leagues.
Yeah.
So now I don't know what they call it now. In hockey they call it 16 and under, 17 under, 18
you can't
and
call
under.
it midget bantam anymore.
So
Yeah.
the junior intercounty, to me, if I were a father
Yeah.
and my son was playing junior, he was a midget, I'd say I'd rather you go play in the intercounty.
Yeah.
Because when you're 17 years old, you're playing against 21-year-olds. You're getting a lot more experience playing against those junior teams than you're the elite midget league.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of those midget age players, they went to the elite league, and junior baseball was gone for 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
And last year was the first year that London had a junior team again,
Okay.
sponsored by the London Majors.
Okay, I didn't know that. And are they playing out of Labatt Park as well?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll have to go ahead there. No worries. Yeah, we're live inside the Norfolk Sports Recognition facility, so there's people coming in as we're talking, and everything's good. But yeah, no, I was unaware about the junior team. I'll have to look into that. I catch a lot of the majors games, and I'll have to see about this junior team. And so you're in London. You're playing intercounty baseball. So you were saying when you were playing junior hockey, we talked. Your off ice training was playing baseball in the summer.
Exactly.
So and then your winter training for baseball was playing hockey.
Yeah.
You know?
I was lucky. In the first year, I just played junior in '65, and then the '66, I was playing junior and senior.
Yeah.
So I was getting in a lot of baseball, but I'd also go to Springbank Park.
Okay.
I would run in the summertime and ride my bike.
Yeah.
I was a pretty active guy, and I didn't sit at home and do nothing through the summer. I worked.
Yeah.
Even when I played professional hockey.
Yeah.
We didn't get paid a lot of money back in those days. When you came home,
You
even
had to-
NHL guys, up in my year, up until about 1970, 72 or 3, guys weren't making a lot of money. Bobby Orr's the guy that when Bobby Orr came to the National Hockey League, that's when the wages went way up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back in my era, even probably into the 80s and maybe into the mid 80s, a lot of guys didn't work out too much in the summer. I think what changed that is in 1972 when Team Canada played the Russians.
Yeah.
They found out the Russians were in extraordinarily good shape
Yeah.
because they worked out all year round, and that's what started all
became a
the pro
full-time
hockey
job
players
all year
working
round.
out in the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what can you tell me about like hardball? So like me myself, born in the '80s, I saw hardball kind of die down. People started getting a slow pitch, softball, fastball, but now hardball is kind of having a climb back in baseball in general. What do you think about the future of hardball? Not at the pro level yet, but just at a youth age, and what you see, in today's world.
Well, I think what created the buzz again was the Toronto Blue Jays and the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
A lot of kids were watching it, and most of the kids that I know would rather play baseball than fastball or slow pitch.
Yep.
And I think the Montreal Expos and the Toronto Blue Jays created all this buzz about coming back and playing baseball.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of good ball players in London that play in these elite midget teams, and now they have a junior team. So there's a lot of baseball players in the area. And those elite midget teams, these players come from all over Ontario.
Yeah.
And they're not just a London team. You may have guys from Owen Sound, or they play in these elite teams.
Yeah, yeah.
But they play in London, and they play all over the place now. So
Well, one thing I
baseball is pretty active.
Yeah, one thing I noticed was when I went to high school, there was no high school baseball. Now in London, there is high school baseball, and I think that's helped growing the game.
That's helped too, and they even have it at the university level.
Yeah.
They didn't have it back when I played junior baseball. There wasn't university baseball.
Yeah.
So there's university baseball and high school baseball.
Yeah, and even college, the London College has
And
a
that's
baseball
why
team.
there's a lot of players playing in Major League Baseball that are Canadians now.
Yeah.
Back when we played,
Yeah.
there might have been 3 or 4 or 5 guys in
Yeah.
all of Major League Baseball from Canada.
Yeah.
Now there's lots of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that there wasn't too many professional Canadians back in the day, but now there's scholarships, like you say.
Yeah.
There's all these different amateur feeding systems as well, and it's a big business now. It
big
literally
business.
is, And I was mainly in lacrosse and hockey, but I learned more about today in the baseball world, and it's a legit legit business, and it's going places. And now in London, you played for the London Majors, and you spoke of Arden Eady, who was the owner of the team, and I wanted to talk on yourself when you played. I remember the diamond where the bleachers were only behind the home plate area, and going to the corners of the dugouts, and there were fans. But then we had, like you say, the London Tigers. There was I believe one team was called the London Rippers. Another team, which were these pro teams. The fan base died down, but the team kept on moving forward. And the eras of hardship, because there wasn't a whole lot of money in it. It's not even at the owner level, and let alone being a player. So when you had guys come back like Fergie Jenkins, what did that mean to you as a player playing on this team, knowing that you're really playing for the fun and the competition, but there was no money coming back, and you had a guy come back from the pros like that to play there?
I think quite a few guys came back from Major League Baseball. Some of them came back and played. Some of them were younger because they probably got injured.
Yeah.
But they still loved the game, and they'd come back. They had guys in Kitchener. They had guys in Brantford. Guys in London. London always seemed to pick up a guy or two.
Yeah.
We had quite a few even before Fergie Jenkins. We had Mike Kilkenny, who came. He was only out of pro baseball, I think, 1 year.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
Major League, and he came back and played. He was, for me personally, as a teammate, he was probably the best pitcher that I ever saw in the Intercounty, and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
There was one pitcher that your father knows that played in Brantford. There was a left-handed pitcher, and I can't remember his name, but the same year as Kilkenny, this guy won. I think he won the best pitcher of the year, the left-hander from Brantford.
Yeah.
But Kilkenny was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I played third base. When I played third base when Kilkenny was pitching, I felt like I was in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
That's how good he was.
Yeah.
He had a curveball, and I tell you, when left-handers came to the plate, I just said to myself, this guy has no idea.
Yeah.
If this guy hits a foul ball, he'll be lucky.
Yeah.
And believe it, he averaged 13 or 14 strikeouts a game.
Geez, that's pretty remarkable.
And his slogan for the team was, all I need is 2 runs and we'll never lose a game.
Yeah, and did he stand by it?
Yes, he did. His ERA was, I think it was less than 1.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So you were saying you started off as a catcher?
Yes, I did.
And then when you moved up to senior ball, what position were you playing then, and how did it go about then?
Well, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, when I was in London, I came to London, and in 1965, Mike Fenlon was the manager of the team, and Barry Boughner was the coach.
Okay.
And Wayne Fenlon, Mike's son, was the catcher.
Okay.
Now, I want to get things straight right off the bat. Wayne Fenlon was a great catcher.
Yeah.
He was excellent catcher. He was good, and he played 22 years.
Yeah, pretty remarkable.
But I felt that I was probably as good as him.
Yeah.
So they signed me.
Yeah.
I was very young. I was the youngest guy in the team. They signed me to play junior baseball, and I did get to catch 2 or 3 games through the year.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I got to play. If Fenlon was catching, I didn't play.
Yep.
So we're playing in Brantford one game, about 10, maybe 10 or 15 games into the season, and the guy who played second base was Doug McLeish for our London Diamonds team in 1965.
Yep.
And he went to go on a routine ground ball. Doug McLeish tried to go to second base. He slid into second base, broke his ankle.
Oh, geez.
And we only had 2 guys on the bench. We only had 2 extra players.
Yep.
So at the end of the inning, of course, our manager's out in the third base box. He's the manager, coach, and Mike Fellon was at first base as the manager.
Yep.
And Barry Boughner comes running when our 3 outs were going back into the field, and he said, "Who can play second base? Can anybody play second base?" Well, this is a funny story, but I felt sorry for the other kid that was on the bench. I only had a catcher's glove.
Yes.
But this kid was an infielder. So I took his glove and ran out to second base and left him standing there. And I'm sure, I can't remember the kid's name.
Yep.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in the newspaper because I want to try to remember what this kid's name.
Yeah.
That was in 1965, so I got to go back and
Yeah,
the newspaper.
1965,
Right?
yeah.
So I went out there and I played second base, and I became a starter.
Yeah.
Because Doug McLeish never came back.
Okay, he got hurt that bad.
And the reason he never came back is because he was going to summer school to be a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, he was going to university, and he wanted to be a teacher, so he never came back to play. So I played second base or third base.
Yeah.
I could even pitch too. I could play everywhere.
Yeah.
If Fenlon was hurt, I could catch, or if they wanted me to catch a game, I could catch. I played second base, I played third base, I pitched. Actually, I probably pitched about 5 games in junior and a couple in senior, and I might be the only pitcher that pitched 5 or 6 games and never lost a game.
Yeah, there you go.
In baseball.
Now let's we don't need to say his name. We can't remember, but did that gentleman ever get a regular position on the team, or and did you just buy the glove off him, or did you go get your own position?
I had to go and buy a glove. I had to go and buy a glove to play second base. Well, the manager, he put me back at second base, and really and truly, if I didn't do that, I might have never got a chance.
Yeah.
But I feel bad that I did that to that kid.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it was very nice of me to do that.
Yeah.
But that's a
Well, it's
long
big
time.
of you
A
to
lot
say
of
that.
water under the bridge.
It's big of you to say that, though.
Well, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like I always tried to be a teammate.
Yeah.
I can remember coming back one year to play senior baseball. We had a kid. We had a guy in our name. His name was Glenn Little.
Glenn Little. Okay.
And I came back because guys were hurt and they were short players, so I came back to play.
Yep.
And I sat beside this kid in the dugout. His name was Glenn Little, and he was little. He wasn't very tall.
Yeah.
And after a few games, and he never got to play, I said, Glenn, like, don't you get a chance to play? I said, did you play last year? He says, yeah, I played last year. I said, well, what'd you play? He said, I played in the outfield. I said, well, how did you do? He says, I played all year and I hit 320. I said, you played all year, you hit 320, and you're sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't understand that. I was pretty confused by that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the other side of the story.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there's teams that are pretty in depth, like they got good depth, and that almost everybody can.
If a 320, you didn't have 9 320 hitters in your lineup.
No.
If you did, I could understand why you was playing there, but there weren't too many 320 hitters.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next game, I was going to be a starter because the manager would put the starting lineup in the dugout.
Yes.
And I was starting. They called me back to play. I didn't really want to come back and play, but they had a few guys injured and guys were hurt, so I would come back, being a good team guy. So I came back, and I was in the lineup the next game at home again, and I decided when I saw the lineup that I was going to do something that probably most guys would never do. I went out to the manager, who was in left field. The manager was Roy McKay. And I went out to Roy and I said, Roy, I don't feel good today. I feel sick.
Yeah.
I was traveling back from Delhi because I wasn't living in London then. I'd come back because I'd left the team. But they asked me to come back, as I said already a couple of times. So I went out to Roy and I said, Roy, I don't feel too good. if I feel better, you can put me back in the lineup, but I don't want to play. And I said, I think it'd be a good idea. I think you should put Glenn Little in the lineup.
Yeah.
So I come back to the dugout. I didn't say anything to Glenn Little. So after our infield workout, pre-game workout,
Yeah.
Roy made out a new lineup and put the lineup up, and he's got Glenn Little in it. And I said, Glenn, I think you should go check the lineup. So he goes and looks at John. He says, well, how come you're not playing and I'm playing? And I said, Glenn, I told the manager that I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
And I tried to convince him that I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't feel good. But I told the manager, if I feel a little better and you want to put me in the game, I would go back in if I feel better. But if I don't, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So I never said anything. And Glenn played, had a good game. So the next game we played, I don't know if I was home or away. I told Glenn the rest of the story.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he says, that's hard to believe you did that. He says, who else would do that? I says, I don't know. Other guys might do that, but maybe not. But I did it because I knew I was only going to be there for a little while. I didn't come back to play the rest of the season. Yeah. And he deserved to play.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I did the same thing, and it was the end of a demise of my hockey career. But yeah, it was this isn't about me, but it was in the playoffs. We weren't making the playoffs. They you get the tap, go and get someone, and then I didn't get paid, and I was like, well, this isn't how I play. So
was this in baseball or hockey?
This was in hockey.
Okay.
So we're in the dressing room, and I told this other kid, I said, you're suiting up tonight. He's like, no, I'm not. I said, yeah, you are. And I didn't suit up. And then, needless to say, the next year, I got the grocery cart, and I was moving on to another team.
You got the pink slip.
Yeah, I got the pink slip. But
walking paper.
Yeah. Nonetheless, but I did do the same thing. I was a team guy, and the gentleman was worthy of it, where we weren't moving on in the playoffs. Yeah. I was upset because of the situation of me not getting a paycheck. Yeah. Even when you're young, you don't do nothing for nothing. Yeah. And I had to stand behind myself. So what you did was pretty honorable, and I'm glad you told him the story to understand it as well, which is pretty good. I won't mention the gentleman that I did it to. He played, and he never played a game at junior after that, and I did, but in a different town. Yeah. But nonetheless.
Different time, different place.
Yeah. But no, that's pretty remarkable of you. So you're playing second base. Now, when you're playing Intercounty, you're traveling as a team. You got your practices. Is there anywhere for the Intercounty players to move up to, or is it mainly players that maybe had a scholarship but came back to their home, center, or are some of them do move up to the pros from there? Or can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, I'll take Jim Rodriguez, Dave Hammond, that I played junior with, and your father Dave. Yep. The same thing for him. The three of them. Those three guys got scouted when they were in junior baseball. Okay. You don't get scouted, really and truly. If you're playing senior baseball and you're a senior age player, you're 21. Yes. Your chance of getting scouted, you better be extraordinary. Yeah. And you might have been a guy who got scouted and asked and didn't go. Yep. And you're still got all the skills. Yep. And at 21, you might go. Yeah. But it's not likely. Yeah. Because most of the guys go at, like, I'd say 17, 18, 19. Yep. They're getting signed by professional major league teams. Yep. And they go, and probably the same thing in baseball as it is in hockey. When you sign a contract to go and play professional sports. Yep. Baseball and hockey too, if they sign you to a professional contract, they either put you in baseball, it'd be A, double A, triple A, or Major League Baseball. A lot of guys start out at A ball or double A, or rookie ball. And then in hockey, you start in the Central Hockey League or the American Hockey League or the Western Hockey League. And they give you, if you stay in the minors, they get, I'm going to say in most cases, in most sports, they probably give you 3 years. Yeah, to progress and get And if
better.
you don't move up, and after the third year, you probably haven't got to Major League Baseball, there'd only probably be one reason they'd keep you. They'd probably put you in AAA baseball because you probably have enough knowledge, and you may be good enough if they have a lot of injuries that you could go up. Yeah. And sometimes they take you out of AA baseball, but mostly AAA. And then hockey, most of the guys came up from the American Hockey
Yeah.
League, not the Central Hockey League. So 3 years is the normal in the minor leagues, and if you haven't moved up almost every year, your chances of making it to the big leagues, baseball or hockey, have been reduced by a way.
So this past year, the NCAA, which is NCAA's University United States Division I, they have dropped the rule that amateur sport players that get paid can now get scholarships. So before you couldn't. So take players in the Ontario Hockey League that get school packages, boarding packages, they are now allowed to get scholarships. So I'm wondering if you did your 5 years in the Ontario Hockey League or the Western Hockey League or the Quebec Major Junior, then you go to a scholarship for 4 years, so now you're 25. Do you think those guys could still go to the NHL at 25 if they allow this procedure to happen? Don't get me wrong, there's going to be guys from the Ontario Hockey League that get drafted, and you know they're the best player in the Ontario Hockey League, so when they are 18, 19, they can make the jump. But others might not, progress or mature until later on. What do you think about that? Because baseball, if you're 21 playing, whether it's in the Can-Am Baseball League or the Intercounty Baseball League, and you get a scholarship, do you think there is, a chance? Because some guys do get drafted out of university baseball. What do you think?
Well, I don't think you can sign a major league contract. If you're playing college baseball, you got to be out of college before you can sign the major league baseball contract.
Yeah, just like the NBA, you actually have to remove yourself. You have to apply to leave university to get the scholarship.
Yeah.
I just was wondering because I've kind of been following the hockey situation, but I don't know if they count Intercounty or the Can-Am or any other little minor league as a pro paid sport. I just was curious if you had any insight or knowledge on that.
I don't, but
Yeah.
From my experience from not before I played pro hockey, but while I was playing professional hockey.
Yep.
Because professional hockey, when expansion came,
It opened up.
everything changed.
Yeah.
And actually, when expansion came, there were probably guys that were playing in the Central League and the American Hockey League. A lot of them probably went up in
When
the
the
first and
teams-
second expansion.
Yes, yeah.
Because they had to have players.
Yeah.
But a few years after that, when they started opening up the whole world,
Yep.
because back before 1975, well, I'm going to say almost 1980, almost every guy in professional hockey was a Canadian.
Yeah, there wasn't too many Europeans or Americans at that point.
But probably around 1980, you started getting Europeans that
Yeah.
coming from all over the world, and the expansion was getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So there probably were guys 24 and 25
Yeah.
and 26 going up to the National Hockey League. And there aren't as many minor league teams now as there was
Back then.
like every NHL team in the 6-team division, they had 3 or 4 minor league teams.
Yeah.
And you would move up from the Central League to the American Hockey League
Yeah.
or the Western Hockey League.
Yeah.
And you back in those days, you might play 4 or 5 or 6 years in the American League and then get called up.
Yeah. So what we're saying is that in the baseball, basically, like you say, once you hit that 21 threshold and you're still in your own center,
Yeah.
the likelihood of movement is nil, unless you're just a huge standout or you really blossom late in life.
I think the reason some guys might go up when they're a little older, some guys don't mature
Yeah.
until they're 23, 24.
Yeah.
And I'd say probably guys that are good hitters
Yep.
have a chance.
Yes.
Because if you're a good hitter, they have DHs now.
Yes.
So if you're a good enough hitter, you might get called up when you're 26 or 7 or 8. If you've had 2 or 3 really good years in AAA baseball,
Yeah, like
and you got a weak hitting team, that
you can
kid's
really
got-
help them.
But most of the guys are probably pitchers.
Yeah.
Because some pitchers don't mature
Yeah.
until they've been in double or AAA or probably AAA 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think those are the guys, good hitters, really good hitters, and good pitchers are probably the guys most likely, and they probably go up to 25, 26, 27 years old.
Yeah.
And they may not pitch that long, but they're good enough to play.
Yeah.
And the only other guy would be a guy that would be a really good defensive shortstop or second baseman.
Yeah.
I'd say those positions because they're the two toughest positions in baseball other than being a catcher.
Yeah.
So if you had a really, really good slick infielder
Yeah.
that wasn't a good hitter,
Yeah.
and you might use them for defensive purposes like they do outfielders sometimes in the 8th and 9th, 7th, 8th and 9th innings.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that get called up.
Okay.
Yeah, and best, especially in baseball.
Now, you spoke a couple times that you liked or you thought you were a better baseball player than you were at hockey.
Well, my father thought that, and but the problem was, I think when I was a junior hockey player and a junior baseball player, I thought I was a really good baseball player.
Yeah.
But my chances of going, I got asked at 21 after my first year of professional hockey.
Yeah.
St. Louis scout, and the reason the St. Louis scout was in London was because Mike Fenlon worked with the St. Louis Cardinals scout.
Okay.
And he had like baseball schools with the St. Louis Scout. They'd bring midget age players from all 30, 40 mile radius in London, and they would have practices, and the St. Louis Scout would be there. And
so these baseball camps, they came to you. You didn't go to them? So the St. Louis Cardinals camp came locally?
That's right, they did. Yeah, that's the only one I know of, the
Okay.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
But we had other baseball camps, but they're actually, I would say Reno Bertoia, as your father told you when he was interviewed, Reno Bertoia, who was from, I believe he was from Windsor, Ontario. I think he was born and raised there.
Okay.
He was a Canadian that played Major League Baseball for the Tigers. In his probably, I'm going to say he was in his late 30s or early 40s, that's a guess.
Yeah.
He was teaching in a school in Windsor, and I don't think he played Major League Baseball very long. He became a teacher.
Yeah.
He used to have camps at Labatt Park on Saturdays. I think I went for 2 or 3 summers.
Okay.
And they were fantastic.
Yeah.
And he was excellent teacher and a great guy. He was very likable.
Yeah.
And he used to bring batting films
Yeah.
and infield instruction films.
Yeah.
Then he taught guys how to slide, how to turn bases. He taught all the skills, taught all the guys how to play their positions.
Yeah.
And that really helped us in junior. That's why we had a lot of good junior baseball players in
Yeah,
London.
that's
And
pretty
I went to
remarkable.
those camps, and at age 21, after I played my first year of professional hockey, the St. Louis Cardinals guy wanted me to sign a contract, and he wanted me to go down, I think, into the rookie league in the summer.
Yeah.
But I was 21 years old.
And you were playing pro hockey.
And
at
I'd
the time.
already played 1 year of professional hockey.
Yeah.
So I said to him at this little camp that I was helping instruct,
Yeah.
I said, listen, let me think about that for a while and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and my thought was very realistic. I said, I don't know how many guys they have at Major League Baseball camp. I'm going to say they have 100 guys because they got guys that are going to A-ball, double-A ball, triple-A ball, and Major League.
Yeah.
And they got to supply a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, they're going to probably have 8 or 10 infielders, third baseman.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, okay, they're going to have 8 or 10 third basemen. Most of the guys in Major League Baseball were either from the United States, almost all of them.
Yeah.
Some from Cuba, some from the Dominican. And I'm a Canadian. There weren't too many Canadians playing Major League Baseball when I was 21 years old. So I said to myself, if they supply 4 or 5 teams, and they got 8 or 10 third basemen, and they're mostly Americans, Cubans, or Dominicans, and I've already played 1 year of pro hockey, and I'm thinking in my own head that I'm good enough to make it to the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
So I told him, I don't want to sign the contract and be sent down to A-ball or D-ball or C-ball or whatever levels you have when I figure I'm one step away from the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
I want to tell you, it bothered me because I would have liked nothing more than to go to spring training in a Major League Baseball team. that might have been the highlight of my career.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been nicer than going to NHL training camp.
Yeah.
So I told him what I thought. I told him exactly what I told you, and he looked at me and he says, "I understand."
Yeah.
So to prove that I made the right decision,
Yeah.
5 months later I was playing in the National Hockey League. So I made the right decision.
Yeah, well, those are decisions you don't know, but being a dual sport player at that level is still remarkable on its own, you know. And,
But it's bothered me my whole life that I didn't go. I didn't go down to one spring training.
yeah,
That would have been the highlight of my life.
Yeah.
And I say that even going to NHL training camp, that's something I was used to.
Yeah.
But baseball, and I like baseball more than hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I feel like I enjoyed lacrosse a lot better than hockey myself. But you know, now so you're in London. Now you say you finish your hockey career. When you finished your hockey career, did you come back and play any baseball? Because your contract was done in playing pro hockey. Could you come back and say rejoin the Intercounty, or was there anything that interested you, or did you feel like you hit the highest level and now it was strictly for fun and recreation, or?
Oh no, baseball was always for fun. I didn't make any money playing intercounty baseball.
Okay.
I know some guys got paid, which would irritate me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because guys who might have got paid never say anything.
Yeah.
And if I got paid and I had 8 teammates, I'll tell them I'm making money.
Yeah.
You deserve money too.
Yeah.
But that's me.
Yeah.
A lot of guys aren't like me.
Yeah.
Because I'd say they're all my teammates. They're all doing the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
I might be a little better. In some cases, 3 or 4 guys might be better than me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And no, every year after I played professional hockey, I came back and played baseball.
Yeah. Now they were okay with it back then. You were allowed to do that, because I mean now there's rules.
No, they didn't want me to play.
Yeah. So that was on your own.
But I don't think they were reading the London Free Press.
No, I agree with you. Not back then. Not back then. I agree with that.
No. My last year of professional hockey was 1973-74.
Yep.
So in 74, I came back and played. Then I wasn't playing hockey. I retired from hockey.
Yeah.
And then I went in 1975. I played.
You were on the championship team in '75.
In 75,
Yeah.
yeah. And in 1975, I played 75, but I refused to play in 76.
Okay.
I didn't want to play in 76 unless we got paid.
Okay.
I said, you just paid one guy $1,000 a game to come and play.
Yeah.
Then you paid another guy $700 a game, and I figured that guy that you paid $1,000 a game, you could have gained 10 other guys $100 a game, and they're the main guys on the team.
Yeah.
They've been here for 8 or 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to pay, so I quit.
Yeah.
It was just, and in reality, at that time, for me, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But a year later, I wish I hadn't have done it,
Yeah.
because I love the game.
Yeah.
But for me, I wasn't only sticking up for me, I was sticking up for the other 9 guys.
Yeah.
Why do you keep giving guys $100 a game or $1,000 a game?
Yeah.
One guy was making $1,000 a game.
Yeah.
You could have paid the 10 guys that are going to be back, all from London,
Yeah.
that are going to be here for 10 years.
Yeah.
Who was most valuable?
Yeah. The locals.
One
that
guy
were
who
coming
got
here.
$1,000 a game, or the 10 guys that got nothing?
Yeah.
And they're going to be there for 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
And I really didn't play much
Yeah.
again until 1980.
Okay.
Then I came back in 1980, and your father wasn't with the team then,
Yeah.
but he was with us all along. And then he went to play. He went to Toronto and played in Waterloo. I played in 1980, and it was the best year I ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Reed Heffernan was the manager, and I played everywhere. I was a DH. I played second base, third base, outfield. I didn't get the pitch.
Yeah.
I didn't get the catch either. But I think I hit 386 and made the first All-Star team. And then I quit for 2 or 3 more years. Then in 1984, when Fergie Jenkins came here, I wasn't here in 84. Yeah, in 84 he came here, and that's the year that they had issues with the catchers and a few players, and so they asked me to come back.
Yeah.
So I came back in 84. I came back on a Saturday afternoon. I hadn't played for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I was a little bit out of shape, but not too bad. And it was a Saturday afternoon. We never played on Saturday afternoons. Why was a Saturday afternoon? It must have been a makeup.
Yeah.
And I get to the park, and it's, oh God, it had to be 85 or 90 degrees. Helter skelter in a summer swelter. I'm telling you, it was. And I hadn't played for 2 or 3 years, and Wayne Fillon was hurt, and he couldn't catch.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the other catcher was. I don't think that's the year that the other catcher got killed in a car accident. But I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but anyway, to make a long story really short, Wayne Fillon came up to me and he says, "Boogie, you're playing today," and he says, "I got good news and I got bad news." And he said, "What do you want to hear first?" I said, "Well, I want to hear the bad news first." He says, "The bad news is you're going to be the catcher today."
Yeah.
I says, "Oh my God!" I said, "It's 90 degrees. I've been gone for 15 years." And he said, "But," and I said, "Oh, why would you do that to me?" And he said, "Well, the good news is you're catching Fergie Jenkins."
Yeah.
I said, "Everything's okay.
Yeah,
I want to catch." Fergie Jenkins, Major League.
Yeah.
He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
Pretty remarkable stuff.
Remarkable. I mean, I was excited.
Oh yeah.
So I met Fergie, and Fergie Jenkins, just a wonderful man. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He spoke to me like he knew me his whole life. That's what the kind of guy he was, right?
Yeah.
So I went into the bullpen and warm up, and I said, "How many pitches you got?" He says, "I got 2 or 3, and I changed speeds on that one, and I got that nice little slider there, and so we start the game, and I start calling. He never shook me off once.
Yeah.
Whatever I called, he threw.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Real professional.
I could have sat in one of those wooden Coke boxes there in a rocking chair and got that guy.
Yeah.
Well, he had perfect control.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story because not many people would get to catch him.
He had perfect control.
Yeah.
And you know what? He hardly threw a strike.
Yeah.
He'd throw that little slider that maybe broke 4.5 inches. He'd throw it right on the black rubber on the outside of the plate.
Yeah.
And it would be coming towards that rubber, and it looked like a strike until it was almost in my glove. And the next thing you know, it was about 5 or 6 inches outside. Guys couldn't hit it.
Yeah.
But he threw it low and away, right?
Yeah.
And then when he wanted a wasted pitch, he'd throw it high and inside, or he'd throw it low and inside. And sometimes he would throw that slider a little high, and it come outside, and that's a sucker pitch. That high pitch that looks like a home run pitch.
Yeah.
But
they're going for
but
it.
it goes high and away, and your bat can't reach it.
Yeah.
So I loved it. It was a great experience.
You sharing that story, I could tell that you were like reliving
I
it.
loved it. It was awesome. He was a great guy.
Yeah, I got to meet him a few times, and my cousin Scott Byers has a story where he took the Fergie Jenkins book to a book signing, and he got there a little bit late, and it ended. But Fergie was sitting down in this, I think it was the Legion. So Scott went over and said, "I'm Scott Byers," and he goes, "I'm related to Dave," and he sat down and he had a drink with him and he signed the book, and he come over and showed my father and I that just last winter.
A wonderful guy. I'll tell you another little story about Fergie Jenkins. I started the London Majors alumni, and on one of the years when we had our whole display in the clubhouse, and that's when Tourism London. It's a long story. I'm going to make it short. Tourism London was helping. We gave them all the information to build all. When you go to the Labatt Park, you see all the storyboards.
Yes.
Well, the London Majors alumni, myself and Stephen Harding, we gave all that information for the storyboards. And after before they did the storyboards, we were in the London Majors dressing room in the old clubhouse, built in 1927. 1927 it was built. It's still there. And they still use it. It's a wonderful place. I love it. When I go in there, I feel like I'm back in the early 1900s.
Well, I'm hoping to do an interview and a tour of it with you being guiding. If you're up to that, we'll do the park. And we'll do the clubhouse.
Oh, you got to put the whole display up. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, we will.
If you ever go to the Hockey Hall of Fame and you see the Montreal, they don't have the Leaf dressing room.
No, they got the Montreal dressing room.
Montreal
Arena.
This display is every bit as good. It's amazing display. And all the guys in the Hall of Fame are in there. All the guys that played for London that are in the Canadian Baseball Hall, all their jerseys. That's beautiful. All the team championship team pictures up with all their names on. It's beautiful.
Well, it's a heritage building now, so now it will be kept up through
Yeah.
the Heritage Society as well, and they got a plaque on the outside there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tourism London got involved after we had their display in there.
Yeah.
I guess they felt the buzz. There was a lot of buzz going on about the London Majors and Labatt Park.
Yeah, Labatt
we were
Park.
promoting Labatt Park. So Tourism London got involved. And each spring, they would come to the alumni and say, what are some of the ideas? And I said, we have to have a Fergie Jenkins Day.
Yeah.
I said, if you promote a Fergie Jenkins Day, they'll come.
Yeah.
But you got to have them on the TV. You got to have them on the radio.
Yeah.
I'll have Fergie Jenkins jerseys made. They're beautiful. I have Fergie Jenkins jerseys made with his name on them. A Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
London Majors Hall of Fame. A Cooperstown Hall of Fame. The jerseys. And so I suggested they bring him here.
Yeah.
And he actually came. The park was packed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to raise money for the alumni, we sold a Fergie Jenkins jersey. I think we took in $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah.
And they got him here, but he signed autographs all night.
Yeah.
Just a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
So the London Majors alumni have really enhanced the London Majors in Labatt Park since 2017. And I think it's been good for the crowds because I've noticed the crowds have got bigger.
Yeah.
We have a London Majors alumni site on Facebook. We got one in the London Majors baseball website.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful. It's a lot of history here.
Yeah, well, the social media carries a lot of things these days.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Now, you talk about Labatt Park. So to know that you played in the park back when it was a ballpark, but the history of Labatt Park now, it's the oldest operating, continuously running ballpark in, I believe, is it North America?
The world.
The world.
In
Okay.
the world,
Yeah, even more remarkable.
Yeah.
And still to this day, the park is such a beautiful park, very well maintained. In the past, they used to actually hold football games within the stadium.
London Lords and high school football
And high school
champions were
football
all
as well.
played there. Yeah.
Okay, now strictly just baseball.
It's baseball only now. As a
Yeah.
matter of that, way back in the day, they played professional soccer there.
Okay.
London Lords played there.
Yeah.
They tore the turf up. It was awful.
Yeah.
And that all stopped when the London Tigers came to town.
Okay, so
No, the only thing that's played there now is baseball.
yes, yeah,
Nothing else.
yeah,
And which is good.
yeah,
Because it's such a beautiful field.
yeah.
They have football out there and soccer. You ruin the turf.
The cleats and the tight turns would just give it, divots like no one's business.
Yeah, baseball started there in 1877. Major League Baseball started in 1876. 1877, the London Tecumsehs had a team. It was called the International Association,
Okay,
and the other was called the National Association.
okay,
And they didn't play against each other, but they played exhibition games against each other.
Okay.
Because they took the train back in those days. They didn't take airplanes.
No,
they took
exactly,
planes.
yeah.
So the International Association had Guelph and London in it, two Canadian teams,
Yeah.
and the rest were American teams.
yeah,
So when London went to play in Ohio,
Yeah.
or they went to play in Indiana,
Yeah.
they would play a major league team,
Yeah.
because they wouldn't just go there on the train and come back. They'd play
Yeah.
2 or 3 other exhibition
Yeah,
games.
make it worth
so the
their while.
International
Yeah.
Association would play against the National Association.
okay.
So, but they never played against each other in league play.
Yeah, well, strictly exhibition.
So at the end of the year, the International Association won the championship in the International Association. There was no playoff. It was just the team that ended up in first place won.
Yeah, throughout the year.
And London beat, I think it was called the Cleveland Alleghenies.
Okay.
They beat them in the last game of the year at Labatt Park.
Yeah.
And they declared themselves world champions because the other league wouldn't play against them.
Okay, so yeah.
So both teams called themselves world champions.
Yeah.
And I have a sign of the London Tecumsehs 1876 that said Canada's first world championship.
That's pretty amazing.
And they've just put into the London Sports Hall, into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame last year.
Okay.
The London Tecumsehs.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got in London, we're in Norfolk County right now in Simcoe, Ontario, but in London, Ontario is the oldest baseball continuously ran diamond, baseball diamond.
Yeah.
We have the Roy McKay Clubhouse,
Yes.
and which is now a heritage building. But you mentioned, which I want to talk about, is we talked about the gold bat. That was from 1919 to 2018.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the top 100 baseball players of that era in Intercounty baseball.
Yeah.
So I've spoken to some people, and I always want to get their input. We have the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, and this is me speaking, and I do get other people's opinion, when you go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, they recognize hockey.
Yeah.
It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. Yes, there's the wall of plaques of major league or professional hockey players in the Hockey Hall of Fame, but they have East Coast Hockey Hall of Fame section. They have even the OUA, the Ontario University Hockey Association. They have the NCAA. They have hockey, but the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, in my eyes, haven't recognized the long-lasting leagues in Canada. I don't know how to put it. They have professional players in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame that played for Toronto, played for Montreal, but they aren't Canadians. They haven't come back to the Canadian community and shared the game or growed the game. Not all of them, some of them. But what's like to me when that happened from 1919 to 2018, that there was these baseball players that were nominated as the top 100. I know it's of that league, but is there anything in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame of the Intercounty Baseball League for over the 100 years of operation? Like you know what I mean? Like, why aren't we recognizing the Canadian baseball environment, the groups, the different leagues, the teams? Do you know what I mean?
I believe the first player ever inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in St. Mary was Ron Stead.
Okay.
He was the first player that I know of. He played professional baseball in the U.S. for a couple of years too, but I think he's the first guy from the Intercounty player to be put into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Now there's another player in there too, and it's I can't remember his name. I wish I could because he was a pretty good ball player. He played for Guelph and he played for Stratford. He was an outfielder, and I can't remember his name, but he was a good player. But they put him in because he was a scout for the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Not because of the Intercounty.
Yeah.
And I'm going to agree with you. I don't know why the Intercounty Baseball League, it's the longest playing league in Canada, amateur, since 1919. It's never missed a year. I think there should be something in there about the history of the league, and maybe more players' names I think should be in there, because boy, oh boy, there was a lot of good ball players in there.
Like, I think even recognizing the league, it is the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. It's like I went to the NHL Hall of Fame probably in I've been there a few times, but I'm talking about this in particular time, 2013. A friend of mine, Wes Golden, they had a whole display of him from playing in the East Coast League when he was in Alaska, and it was in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And it's not called the National Hockey League Hall of Fame, it's called the Hockey Hall of Fame. Another friend of mine, Mark Mancarey, who's from London, they had him in there because he had the hardest slap shot ever in the AHL at the All-Star game. And so they're recognizing hockey as a whole. I just feel like we are in Canada to draw people to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. I think to have more local, and not local as Ontario, but as Canadian sports. I know there is a league out west, I can't think of it, which is like the same type of senior we have here, but out there. And then Quebec, they got the Can-Am. There is some Ontario teams in the Can-Am league. But in my eyes, I just want to get your opinion on it. And
I think we should get more recognition, but it's you're not the first guy that's brought this subject up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story, and I'm going to watch what I say.
Yep.
I don't want to.
We don't want to ruffle any feathers.
I don't want to lose the good relationships I have with some of the people at the Canadian Baseball.
Well, we can talk about it at another time.
No. The first trophy ever given out for the Intercounty Baseball Champion was given out in 1920, not 1919.
Okay.
For some reason, when the league started in 1919, maybe they never thought about the end of the year
Yeah.
having a trophy.
Yeah.
So the team won in 1919 was, I think it was Galt.
Okay.
Galt. Galt and Guelph. Galt and Guelph won from 1919 to 1925. London was the first team to break the streak.
Okay.
I think Galt won it 3 years in a row, then Guelph won it 3 years in a row, then London won in 1925.
Okay.
The 1920 trophy has all the names of the championship teams on it up until 1956. In 1956, London won the Intercounty Baseball League Championship.
Yeah.
And that's the trophy that was made in 1920 by a company in Guelph.
Okay.
The London Majors won that in 1956, and Frank Coleman, who played baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates and the New York Yankees, was the owner-manager
Okay.
of the London Majors team.
Okay.
When they played in the playoffs, the Intercounty playoffs, they were filling the park. They were putting 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000 people in the playoff.
Yeah.
And when the Intercounty gave out the London Majors share of the gate receipts,
Yeah.
they gave London a check for $75.
Jeez.
So Frank Coleman, who had the trophy, and his brother Frank, they were co-owners.
Yeah.
Frank was a player manager.
Okay.
Right, and he came from the Toronto Maple Leafs,
Okay.
AAA team, and played Major League Baseball for the Yankees in Pittsburgh before
Yeah.
that. He owned the team from 56 to 59, then he sold it. But in 1956, after they won the trophy and got $75, they kept the trophy.
Oh,
They
so-
wouldn't give it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 2018, that trophy reappeared.
Resurfaced.
It was in Frank Coleman's brother, Jack, had the trophy in his garage.
Unbelievable.
Now, Frank passed away early in life.
Yeah.
He fell off a building. He was a contractor.
Okay.
He died in his 40s.
Yeah.
But the trophy sat in his garage.
Yeah.
And his daughter and his son had the trophy, and his
Yeah.
2 sons. When Frank passed away, when Jack passed away, the trophy stayed in Jack's garage.
Yeah.
And when it stayed in there, and then his daughter, Sandy, took the trophy and kept it in her garage.
Yeah.
And before 2017, she went to the Hockey Hall of Fame and offered the Intercounty trophy to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
She didn't know
The
that.
Baseball Hall of Fame,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
yes, yep.
And they didn't want it.
Huh.
Time passes. Last year, myself and Stephen Harding went to the Canadian. They have a Canadian baseball symposium. Every year, it's in a different place, in a different town, and
Yep.
a different thing. And they had it this year. They had it in St. Mary's, and we brought the trophy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we brought some of the plaques that we're going to put up in Labatt Park, and some of
Yeah.
the team pictures. And the guy who runs the Hall of Fame, he says, I hope you're thinking about leaving that trophy here or leaving it in the Hall of Fame. And I don't want to mention his name. So I said to him, you were offered this trophy in 2017 and you didn't want it.
Yeah.
So it's staying with our London Majors alumni.
Yeah. So that's going to be now like placed in the clubhouse when they do the tours.
We do it.
Yeah.
We put it in the clubhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's amazing how it went away for a long time
Yeah.
and it's resurfaced and now it's
Yeah.
back in the hands.
Yeah. It's
Well,
in
no,
rough
that's
shape, but
Yeah.
it's got all the little things on it, and
Yeah.
all the names of the teams. And
Yeah.
1956 was the last one on it. London Majors,
Yeah.
1956.
Well, let's carry on. So hockey career has ended. Baseball has ended. Now you went on and did some coaching in hockey.
Yep.
What can you tell us about that? You coached at I believe it was the OHL level, the senior level, and was there anything else? Tell me. I want to hear those stories. But was there another level? Was it junior B or was it junior C?
Senior A.
Senior A.
I first, when I come out, I thought that I might still want to play hockey. So I went to play in Brantford in the OHA Senior A League.
Well, it was called the Brantford Alexanders.
Brantford Alexander.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
1975.
Okay.
In the fall of
Yeah.
75, September, October of 75.
Yeah.
And I went there, and that's the same year that the Toronto Marlboros decided that the next year the Marlies weren't going to have a team.
Okay.
They were so they wanted, they played some of their home games in Brantford.
Yeah.
So I started out the year in the senior team, and the
Yeah.
rink was full.
Okay.
But once every 2 or 3 weeks, the Marlies would come.
Yeah.
Toronto Marlborough's OHA Junior A team.
Yeah.
And so their crowd started going up, and
Yeah.
our crowd started going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after about 8 games of the senior team and about 3 or 4 of the Marlies, our crowds were very small,
Yeah.
and the
theirs were getting
Marlies were
bigger.
full.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the agreement was they had to pay me for mileage,
Yeah.
and they're paying you so much a game to play senior A.
Yeah.
Because you had to travel all
Yeah, all
over
over
Ontario.
Ontario.
You're
Yeah,
all
yeah.
over the place. You were in Whitby, you were in, had to go to Barrie, you were all over the
Yeah,
place. And
yeah.
you know, you had to take time off work to play at some of
Yeah.
these places, right? So they weren't paying. So I told the manager one day, I said, I'm not going to play anymore unless you pay. I said,
Yeah.
I'm not doing all this travel and spending my own money to come to games all over the place. And pay. I just want the money that's owed to me. That's all. I'm not asking
Yeah.
for anything more. I want you to, come up. Your end of the deal has to be taken care of.
Yeah.
I'm doing my end of the deal. You got to do yours.
Yeah.
So we went to play on a Sunday afternoon. I had to go play in Napanee.
Napanee. Yeah.
Had a nice day.
Yeah.
Sunday through a snowstorm, we go to Napanee, and he told me he'd pay me before the game.
Yeah.
So we get to Napanee, guys are getting all dressed, going on the ice. I'm not getting dressed, and they say, Boogie, how come you're not getting dressed? I said, I'm not getting dressed until they pay us.
Yeah.
I said, the manager said he's coming, he's gonna pay us. He said
Yeah.
he'd be here before the game, he's not here. So the guys go out for the warm-up. When they come back, the manager still isn't showing up. But
Yeah.
I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he finally shows up about 2 minutes before the bell, and I haven't got my equipment on. He says, how come you're not dressed? How come you're not playing? I said, what was the arrangement we made? Well, I was going to give you the money. He said, but I don't have the money.
Yeah.
I said, you don't have the money, so I don't play.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
I've lived up to my end of the deal. You haven't lived up to your end of
Yeah.
the deal. His name was Peter Ham. I know I don't mind saying his name about 10 times. Because he was somebody that I had zero respect for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it got worse from this moment on.
Yeah.
From the moment on that he didn't pay me.
Yeah.
So the next day, 2 days later, we had practice on Tuesday. He said, I'll give you the money on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm going to come to practice, but
Yeah.
I want the money before practice.
Yeah.
So we said, I'll tell you what, we got a guy in our executive that owns he sells dishwashers and stoves and fridges.
Yeah.
He owns an appliance place. I'll give him the $200 I owe you. You go there before practice, then I know you'll show up to practice.
Yeah.
So that was on the Sunday. When we left the game, I was going to get the money on Tuesday. The next day, Monday, I get a phone call from Dave Easton in Woodstock. And he says, Barry Boughner. I said, yeah. He said, I understand that you're playing for Woodstock and you're not happy with the agreement that Woodstock has made with you.
With Brantford.
With Brantford, yeah, that Brantford's made with you. And I said, well, who are you? He says, well, I run the Woodstock Senior A team. We're in a different division. We're in the Continental Senior A, which is a better league than the OHA Senior A.
Okay.
And the OHA Senior A has a lot of ex-professionals
Yeah.
playing in it, right? Guys who still want to play after they play
Yeah.
hockey, they love the game. They know that they're going to get a little bit of money, but not much. So
Yeah.
I said, well, how'd you get my name? He said, well, I don't want to tell you. Somebody told me that you're not happy with the way Brantford's treating you. And he says, I'd like to meet with you. And I said, okay. He says, can you meet me on Tuesday? I said, yeah, I can meet you on Tuesday. So I met on Tuesday at his house, north of Woodstock,
Yeah.
a few miles. And I sat down with him, and he says, you're not happy there. Would you be interested in coaching the Woodstock team? I said, okay, now you want me to coach, or do you want me to play? You want me to be a player, a coach, player, coach? he says, no, if you want to play, you can play, but we'd like you to coach.
Yep.
I said, perfect, I'd like to coach. I said, the only time I would consider playing is if we're short players all play.
Yeah.
And so I agreed, and I'm not going to tell you. He compensated me. I don't want to say.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know how he compensated me.
Yeah.
So it's Tuesday afternoon. Now Tuesday night, I drive to Brantford. I go to the guy who sells the appliances, stoves and refrigerators and dishwashers. And I pick up the $200 in the envelope, and I say, thanks, I'll see you at practice. They never seen me since.
Yeah.
I left and went back and got money to coach the Brantford team.
Yeah.
Now, what they didn't tell me, as I found out when I went to the rink, the first practice, probably the next day on a Wednesday, they only had 12 players.
Okay.
No cards left.
Yeah.
No cards.
Yeah, so they couldn't pick up any
So
players.
I got 12 guys.
Yeah.
And
yourself.
That's not the worst part of the story. The worst part is they were 1 win and 13 losses with 12 guys and no cards.
Yeah.
So now I maybe not so happy. But anyway, I took over coaching, and what I knew I had to do was, you can't play a wide open game with 10, 12 hockey.
Yeah.
Like we had 6 forward or 7 forward, 4 defensemen and a goalie.
Yeah.
And you can't play wide open hockey with 12 hockey players.
So
I said we're gonna spend our time. I want you to teach how to play defensive hockey.
Yep.
The only time we're going to play offense is if we carry the puck in, we're on offense. If we dump and we know and the first guy in knows he can get to the puck, and the second guy says, I know he's going to get the guy, so we're going to send 2 guys.
Yep.
But under any other condition, 1 guy in, everybody else.
Yeah, you're playing like a 1-2-2 basically system.
We're playing 1-2-2 or 1-4.
Yeah, 104. 104.
104
across the line. Yeah.
Anyway, you know what? From that point on, we ended up 3 wins and 33 losses. That's the bad news. But the good news was, I taught these kids how to play hockey.
Yeah.
And we never went into the third period behind in any game.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Yeah.
But you know what happens. 5 minutes left in the second period, guys are stepping on their tongues.
Yeah.
You got nothing left.
Yeah, they're already winning.
So we got smoked every third period,
Yeah.
but we hung in every game for 2 periods.
Oh, that's remarkable.
Yeah, it was remarkable. The next year, all those same players came back, added a few more. We had a full team, and we missed the playoffs by 1 point.
Yeah.
The next year, we made the playoffs, and 8 teams made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Team number 1 could pick 4, 5, 6, or 7, 5, 6, 7, or 8.
Okay.
Team 1, Stratford, picked us.
Yeah.
We ended up in 8th place.
Yeah.
We beat Stratford out, then we beat Ilderton out.
Yeah.
We won the whole thing.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, we won the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we went from 3 and 33 to champions in 2 years.
Yeah.
Really, I say 2 years because the first year didn't even count.
Yeah.
And I loved coaching.
Yeah.
I loved. So after the 3rd year, I went back in the spring. The manager asked me to come back to talk about the contract.
Yeah.
When I got there, we didn't talk about the contract. He says, we're letting you go.
Oh, jeez.
I said,
After a championship
I
year.
taught these kids the whole game. Like,
Yeah.
You couldn't beat us. Our team was solid.
Yeah.
And if I would have picked up 2 or 3 more guys,
Oh, it would have been rock solid.
at the end we won the championship. Then we had to play Brantford.
Yeah.
After we won the championship, we had to go to Brantford and deal with my buddy Peter Ham.
Yeah.
So this is the best part of the whole story. After we won our own league,
Yeah.
we had to go meet the OHA rep because Brantford was playing at home and they're up 3-0 against Barry or Thunder Bay, right?
Okay.
And we had to go there to set up the playoff series because now we're playing for the All Ontario.
Okay.
And the winner goes on to the Allen Cup.
Yes. Yeah.
So we go outside the Brantford dressing room when the game's over. Brantford won the game, so they're going to play us now. And the OHA had home game because the year before our league had the 7th game, the odd game, right?
Okay.
In case it went 5 or 7.
Yep.
So the OH rep is here. I'm here, and Peter Ham's right here.
Yeah.
And man, oh man. I despise this.
Yeah.
Anyway, the OHA rep says to me, and he says, okay, this year the OHA gives you odd games, so Peter, you got games 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Yeah.
So you tell us first game. So we'll give the date for the first game. Then he says, okay, London, and the manager had all the dates. I said, so okay, whatever his name is. Yeah, the manager, tell him when we're playing, so it's game 2. Peter, you got game 3,
yeah.
Woodstock game 4. Then he says to Peter Ham, we're going to schedule game 5. He says there won't be a game 5.
Oh, he was being cocky.
I looked at him and said, Peter, before I talk to you, I'm going to talk to the OHA rep. I said to the OHA rep, if he opens his mouth one more time, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to knock that guy down. I'm telling you right now. I says, the nerve of this man. I says, and he got me once before, but he ain't getting me again.
Yeah. He didn't know the history
So
behind it.
he says to Peter, I would advise you to tell me when you want to play the 5th game.
Yeah.
So, game 5,
Yeah.
we think, no, Brantford never lost one game in the playoffs until they played our team.
Okay.
And me personally, I don't think we're going to win one game.
Yeah.
The league's so much better. All ex-professionals.
Yeah.
I have one guy that played professional hockey on my team,
Yeah.
and he didn't play at a high level.
Yeah.
So, we lose game 1. The sports writer comes in and talks to me after. He says, geez, I think your team was good enough to win the game tonight. I said, listen, his name was Ted Bear. They called his articles Bear Facts.
Okay, that's pretty
And
good.
he says, well, Barry, by the way, I want to talk a little baseball with you too. He says, well, I'll talk hockey first.
Yeah.
And he said, geez, I don't know. I think you surprised this team tonight. They probably figured the running back 8 or 10.
Yeah.
I said, listen, I really and truly, I don't think we'll win a game. But we're not going to throw our bags at center ice.
Yeah.
We're coming to play. We're going to give them a game.
Yeah.
And if we win a game, good. But I don't think we will.
Yeah.
Come back to Woodstock, we win game 2.
Yeah.
Go back there, game 3, they beat us by 1 goal again.
Yeah.
So the sports writer says, you know what? This team, this is the only team they've lost a game in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and you've outscored them in the 3 games.
Yeah.
He says, I think they're going to start to think that they got a little work to do here.
Yeah.
We come back home, we beat them about 11-2.
Yeah. Geez. In game 4, so it's 2-2
We beat
now.
them, it was 2-2.
Yeah.
Right? So we go back there, and and now the sports writer says, this team is scared of you. They really think that you can beat them, and they're in shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, listen, I told you, I didn't believe we could win a game. We won 2, and if we get lucky, we might win another one. But I still don't think we'll win the series. I said, well, I don't want you to write that part. So anyway, we go back there. We lose game 5.
Yep.
We come back for game 6. We lose in triple overtime.
Oh.
And they hit about 4 guys. They went off Jack Eagers. Jack Eagers shot the puck who played in the NHL.
Yeah.
And they hit about 4 guys. It went bing, 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 and it went in the net.
Yeah.
Triple overtime, game 6.
Yeah.
They went on to win the Allen Cup. They smoked the other team by 8 or 10 goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had a great team. It was a great year for me. And I felt very proud of myself, but I felt proud of my players.
Yeah.
Because they listened and they learned. And you won't believe how many players on that team came up to me and said, Boogie, it was a pleasure and an honor
Well, like you
to
said,
play for you.
they believed in your system, and then they believed in playing for you.
Yeah,
And,
well, one of the things I told them, other than we got to learn how to play tight defense, I said, what I won't do to you what happened to me. When I played professional hockey, they treat you like a nobody. You're number 19, and that's the way you were treated back in those days. But things changed, and it was like that because there wasn't all this social media.
Yeah.
Once you get all the social media sticks up for players.
Yeah.
They don't stick up for management.
Yeah. Because their stories can get out a
You
lot
listen to
quicker.
Ron McLean on Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah.
He never knocks a player.
No.
He knocks Gary Bettman, and he knocks management sometimes and question. He doesn't question players.
Yeah.
So social media has been fantastic for players, right?
Yeah.
But back in our day, there was no such thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I told him, I'm going to treat you with respect, but I expect to be treated the same in return.
Yeah, yep.
And that's why the players like me. I treat them like human beings, and I worked with every player as individuals.
Yeah, yeah.
I tried to make them
Each one better.
I tried to make each one. I tried to give them enough tips to make them all better.
Yeah. Now, you know, we'll get near the end here. Now, I asked you the same thing about hockey. In baseball, what do you think was a pro, a negative, and what did you walk away learning baseball that could help you not only in the sport of baseball but in life? And then, who was your favorite baseball player? Did you have a chance to meet that person?
I love playing baseball. I love my teammates.
Yeah.
I think about all the guys I play baseball with every day.
Yeah.
I can name every guy in the first junior baseball team I played on. I can name the guys in the 1969 team that I played on, and your father came up from junior.
Yeah.
When we beat out Listowel, then they lost in the final. I wasn't there because I went to play pro hockey.
Yeah.
What did I learn from baseball? I couldn't play individual sports. The only individual sport I liked was golf.
Yeah.
But you're not by yourself.
No, you're playing with
You're
others.
talking with your friends. Yeah, I don't compete against anybody when I play golf.
Yeah.
I compete against the golf course.
Yeah.
Guys who compete against you, I don't compete. I don't care if every guy beat me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to beat the golf course.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Well, I do.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's a
You're
good
my
way of
friend.
looking at other
I'm
people.
playing with you because I like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I play, even when I played in competition, I just played the best I could. If I won, I won. I lost, I lost.
Yeah.
I used to play with guys in golf. They were so into the game, they'd throw their golf clubs and they'd get mad, wouldn't talk to you.
Yeah.
I played with guys that missed the first shot of the day, wouldn't talk to you for 18 holes.
Yeah. And
You
like
know,
you say,
you know what I told those guys? Maybe you should quit your job and take up PGA golf. You should become a golf professional.
Yeah.
Like, you're not that good.
Yeah.
So hell, you just come out here to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be as good as you can. But when I play with you and you play bad and you don't talk for 4 hours,
Yeah, it's not fun for you.
I don't even want to play with you anymore.
Yeah.
You know what? I said that to a guy once. 2 weeks later, he came back to me and he said, "I really thought about what you told me."
Yeah.
He says, "I'd like to play golf with you again."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, "You know, I learned a lot by what you just said there."
Yeah.
And he changed his whole attitude.
His whole demeanor.
I never played with him again though,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I figured I did my job.
Yeah. Yeah. You're on to the next.
I gave him the best advice I could,
Yeah.
and he changed.
Yeah.
I love golf. I love baseball.
Now you said.
I love teammates the most. That's
Yeah.
what I love. And we always
The
had good
camaraderie,
teams.
the
Even when
camaraderie.
we were lost, I love the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought too, you know, like been on some bad teams, some good teams, but it was not only just about the sport, it was about after the sport with the sport guys. Yeah.
But in reality, you remember the teams you played on that won the best.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I remember, like in junior baseball, it was awesome. I love junior baseball.
Yeah.
1968, we won the Intercounty.
Yeah.
1968, Sarnia Drawbridge Inn had the tournament in Sarnia for the Canadian Championship.
Okay.
So they got a buy into the Canadians.
Yeah.
We beat them in the Intercounty.
Yeah.
They won the Canadians in August.
Yeah.
Then we played them in the first round of the OBA playoffs and we beat them.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because we had a better team than them. You know why they won the Canadians? Because they picked up 3 or 4 more players. Every team that plays in the Canadians can pick up 3 or 4 guys.
Okay.
I don't agree with that. You
Yeah.
should play with your team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not really your team.
Yeah.
You picked up 3 of the best players that had to play in your league, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they picked up 3 players.
Yeah.
So in '68, we won the Intercounty. We beat Chatham out for the All-Ontario, who won the Canadian. 1969, we won the Intercounty.
Yeah.
We beat out Chatham for the All-Ontario after they won the Canadian Championship, so we beat them 69. Yes, 68 and 69. Yeah, Sarnia. We beat Sarnia. 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
We beat them in the All-Ontarios and we beat them, they won the Canadians 2 years in a row. Great, we had great teams too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we had good teams. We had great pitchers, good infielders, your father and myself and Jim Rodriguez. Oh my God, we had all good players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost all those guys went and played senior A baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So you know, we're gonna wrap it up here, Barry. But I want to say, as a friend, I call you as a friend and a former professional hockey player in the NHL and former Intercounty baseball player. I appreciate your time and and giving me this opportunity to interview you.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking forward to following forward with you with Labatt Park and the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to working with you and you giving me an opportunity with some of your friends who also are athletes.
Yeah.
That are local and hear their stories. I also want to say, it's pretty amazing that you're in the Norfolk County Sports of Recognition. You're in the London Sports Hall of Fame. You're in the London Majors Hall of Fame. You've done very well for yourself. You should be proud of yourself, and I'm proud to know you and you being part of my life and my family's life.
Yeah, it's great to be in those three places. What I'm more proud of is the effort I put in.
Yeah.
You know what? When I played baseball or hockey, I never, ever thought I was the best player.
Yeah.
Because this is what motivated me.
Well, you want to be.
I always told myself, don't ever believe you're the best player, and keep working as hard as you can to become the best player. And I told myself, don't ever think you're the best player, because you'll never stop working.
Yeah.
And that was my theory all the way along.
And we can find you still currently with the London Majors Alumni Association.
Yeah.
And are you still part of sorry, I forget the name. It used to be called the London Old Timers Association, but it's called now
London Sports Association.
London Sports Association.
I resigned my position.
Okay.
But I'll still go to the meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time here today. And,
my pleasure. We might be able to do another one time, and I can just tell stories.
And I would
good stories.
I would appreciate
baseball
that.
and hockey stories. Yeah. Well, you'd be amazed.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Barry. And till next time, be on the bench here with Byers. And again, thank you, Barry Boughner. Thanks a lot, guys.